Hey guys. Did you see Tony's video, Stefan? Hang on. I'm back. Someone left the volume on the computer. Those annoying live stream ads. Hey everyone. Who we got? Hi Poppy. Hi Mark. Hey Stefan. Hi and bye John. Hi Adam. Hey John. Hey Matt. Kevin. G'day. Good evening. Welcome back to that spare room mess. It's kind of what it is here. Sorry. Slow start there. Yes, I just got off the phone with John Pettit, who is about to blow himself up with chemicals, but all good fun. And I'll keep you posted on that. Don't know if there's very much happening here. I feel like I've been productive all weekend. I'm not sure if I've achieved anything. Mr. Pete's regular. Every time I live stream, there's a Mr. Pete video pops up. He must operate on a schedule. I don't know anyone else who can do that. Hi, Patty. What's happening? I've been messing around with these boilers. There's two of them, and they're pretty solid, actually. They're a lot bigger than expected. This is it. This is actually full of water, this one, because I sort of was boiling it and testing burners. It's got this burner, and it's all right. It's very, very similar to the traction engine burner. About the same size tank, probably a bit bigger flame. Hey Stevie, hi Patty. It's not a bad burner. However, it doesn't boil for long enough to use all the water in the boiler. So I'm going to mess around. Is Chirpy there? No sign of Chirpy. Chirpy must have gone to bed again. Anyway, I think I'm going to add make something a little bit different than this in a tank and so forth. That goes in there like that, the handle on it. But I think I'm probably going to put a tank, external tank, something like that. I'll keep with Spirit, I think. But we'll see what happens. But that's Mark 1 burner, and I don't think it's going to do the job. It'll do the job, but not for long. So we'll organise something and sort that out. If Chirpy's watching this later, we're getting there. But they're not a bad looking little boiler. I've made 2 buttons each end just to clamp that on the ends to hold it in place. And these are pop riveted together, so they're not really going to come apart without a drill. But they don't really need to. This is the fire tubes underneath. This is the other one. Also finished and tested, all that sort of stuff. Hi, David. So that's the other one. This one's mine. And this one's Chirpy's. All the other bits are here. We've got 2 end plates and 2 little feet and the main surround. It's not a big job to finish them, but I just wanted to get this one going and get the boiler and get it tested, get it going. I've still got to find 2 3/16 ball bearings for the safety valves before I can test them. And then we might even, maybe next week, live stream, not promising, but we might be able to run an engine under steam. Ceramic burner's probably all right. I'm over budget on these completely, so I'm not going to spend the money. The ceramic burners would be nice, but if I can do something depression style that's going to do it, I'd be happy to do that. So all good. This is the article, which is from a book, Amateur Craftsman Encyclopedia. I did look it up. I think 1930s, mid-30s. Shows the boiler and what used to be a cocoa can to make the boiler, but his finished thing looks very similar to mine. There's a little engine with it, and that's it installed in a boat. The engine parts are there. And it shows the boiler and sort of a rudimentary self-tap countersunk screw safety valve, which I don't like very much. These valves are actually LBSC designed ball Ross Pop style proper safety valves, so they should be really safe and really good. And the thing is about a valve like this with the screw in the hole is that this doesn't lose a lot of pressure very quickly. The way a boiler works is when you let pressure out of it, that pressure or the steam expands rapidly, like faster than you can see. So you need something with a clear hole to clear the steam, or you're going to end up with basically a boiler explosion if it can't handle it. So that's, in theory, it doesn't really happen, but it's sort of the way it works. And that's why I don't like these countersunk screw poppet valve style safety valves. The other reason I don't like them is that the nuts inside the boiler and it comes unscrewed, you end up with the valve through the roof or your eye or something and a cloud of steam. So not big fan of these. This has got a proper ball and seat and a spring, and it's got adjustment on the top. I think that this valve will be very, very good. Anyway. The burner in the book, there's a little tank with a vent. This is all very theoretical, but it's got a shut-off valve, which I'm not sure this is going to have. It's got a tube. Oh gosh, where's the picture? Don't know if there is a picture really. It's got a tube with slots in it and a wick in the middle that sits on 2 tool clips front and back. So I'm probably not going to do that, but I'm going to do something that works. So watch this space. We'll see if we can get them done this next weekend. That's mostly for Chirpy's benefit, and he's not even in, so thanks for bearing with us. That's the little engine, and Chirpy's made a set of patterns and sent me a set of castings for this little engine. Little single twin cylinder oscillator, or double acting oscillator, which will be a fun project. I think it's probably reversible. Not sure about that, but haven't really had a good look. That's the picture I have of the burner, and that's a little bit sketchy, but as he's turning the recess disc in the rear of the rear of the cylinder on what looks like a good old Pratt miniature lathe, which sounds like a pretty hard work sort of a thing. Yeah, this is good old Pratt. Anyway, I guess it's gravity fed. It sort of finds its own level. It's got a wick in it to stop the metho or the white spirit or whatever pouring out, and it's got a tank in the stop to sort of stop too much going past. So it's pretty basic, really. I've probably got a couple of little taps I could use, but probably a better option is just a little clamp on a rubber hose. Whereas this has got a rubber hose from here to here and a rubber hose from the burner tank. Not sure about that. Anyway, that's what we've been messing around with. That's what I've done this weekend. Hey, Stephen. Good morning. And good morning to everyone in America who didn't stay up all night. So this is starting to look like it, but it's fairly big capacity. This is 63 millimeters, 2.5 inches by 6 inches, a bit bigger. So it's quite a big boiler, and with those fire tubes on it, it's going to produce a fair bit of steam, and it's going to produce an engine. It'll run an engine for quite some time, so it needs a bigger burner, I think. Chirpy's got quite a big engine that he wants to run on his, even as just a test, so it might give him some incentive to get that running if we've got a boiler that'll handle it. That's my thought behind that, but I have to get them finished and posted. What else? Spent some time this last week messing around with this. Put this handle on, which is just a leather handle. Some of you probably saw this. One of my colleagues at work made this. I saw Chirpy's video. I didn't see your video, Stephen. I was wondering if you caught up. I haven't watched the video through completely, and I want to sit down and do that, but it's 50 minutes long and it just hasn't happened. I expect that. I hope you made some video. You probably never. But I knew you were both at the same event, and that looked pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. So the idea with this was so that it sits down flat, so I can poke it under a shelf that's only this high. That's the idea. I meant to get some fine wire rope or something to go on here, or some catgut. I've made two little, oh, can you see that? I've made two little bobbins there, one there and one there, and I'm going to put a rope between them so that this doesn't fall back. We'll find something to go on there, even if it's just a piece of electrical wire bent round and soldered or crimped or something. I don't know. We'll have a look at that. So the box, apart from that, is pretty much finished. There is a school of thought. Hi, Mark. Shush, Stephen. You don't know anything. You really... That sort of thing messes with your head if you start worrying about that. But I think it'll work. I need to get it out and cut some gears and things like that. But everything's in place there. School of thought thinks that it needs a etched plate on the top here. That's probably going to happen at some point, but it won't be this week. So, gosh, there's some sunny Canberra, hey? I bet it's cold down there. It's cold enough up here. So that's the box. For the plate, maybe it needs a plate on here. I've messed around with some ideas in Photoshop. I'm not very good at this, but once I get something that looks okay, I might try and etch one. Brass plate with blue in it or something like that would look really good. It's been windy here too, a bit cold today too, tonight. So while TTMJR's here, that's Matt from Ede down on the south coast. Go check out his channel if you haven't already. I posted a link earlier, and I know a lot of you went along and had a look, and I really appreciate that. We had a talk on the phone earlier in the week, and it was good to catch up. Go and check him out. Bookmark his channel and go and have a look and subscribe. In other news, we did a little bit of bartering, and he may or may not have a lathe that he might be going to send me, so we'll watch that spot. Hey Brian, watch that spot. What else is happening? This isn't really a lathe. This has been a bit topical really in the Facebook group, YouTube Machinists on Facebook. This is a set of watchmaker's turns, which is really only a set of centers that you put a mandrel between with a pulley on it and use a bow to move it backwards and forwards for polishing and stuff. Yeah, it's an LL1, Mark. This hasn't actually got a turning spindle, so I'm guessing it's not really a lathe. We called them a set of turns. This is a set of watchmaker's turns, and it's really only a dead center each end. Generally the work goes between center, either with an attachment on here. Usually there's a pulley on here that's missing with a drive dog, and that will spin with a bow or with a, quite often they had a spring spindle and a cord, and you pulled the cord backwards and forwards, and that moved that rotated the workpiece. It's for watch work. Most of these have got centers in them, but they're tiny, 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 and they're all offset. If you have a look, I don't know if you can actually see that. Can we focus on that? We're trying, and no, I don't think we can. No, we can't focus on that. Too close. It's not a pivot polisher, no, but it's a set of turns. So basically, yes, it's a lathe, but I'm not sure that, yeah, modern phraseology would call it a lathe. It's not in bad condition. It needs a little bit of work, and it needs the pulley and the driver made here. I'm not sure I'm ever going to do any work that would require something like this. This was a gift from a good friend, and I'm probably not going to get rid of it at any point. but it is a nice set of turns. It goes in a clamp or a vise, but usually using them over a vise is a real pain in the, because you end up dropping bits. You don't want it out here on the edge of the bench. You want it back here on a stand so you can lean over and get your elbows out and get nice and close with a loop. So hi Lance and Patrick, g'day. Good to see you chip in, and good morning. This is, I guess it's probably 50s or 60s. Lance or Patrick might know. Active Atom, have you got any idea? But yeah, it's a miniature pole lathe, basically. It's used for making pivots and balance staffs, things like that for watches. There's this whole English versus American, who went to the moon, and mass production and Enfield rifles, and all this stuff comes into it, and it's a fascinating story. But English lathes, you bought bits and they all needed finishing to fit the watch. Or English watches, you bought bits and they all needed fitting to fit the watch. Whereas the Americans come along with Waltham and Elgin and Hamilton, and all the American parts were available off the shelf and you put them straight in, which was kind of crazy. And the Swiss took that, and that industry took off, and the American industry seemed to, people lost interest from after the Second World War. I don't think people really tooled up again to make watches. But Swiss watches too were made on a Borchet sort of principle, a cottage industry. Swiss watchmaking was a cottage industry up until the 20s. And in the wintertime, when it was too cold to grow crops or farm cattle or whatever, everyone sat around the kitchen table and made watch plates, which all went together to the manufacturers, who then finished them in-house and sold the watch movements. That's kind of how it worked. This is probably boring everyone. But then the Americans come along and they built watches that were mass produced, and parts had interchangeability, and you could order parts out of a parts book that would fit them for the serial number, which was kind of amazing, and it was revolutionary, really. And the Swiss eventually got to that point about 1983 or something like that, when ETA started to make some money with the Swatch watch, and then they bought up all these companies and standardized everything, and now parts fit. That's a bit simplistic, but before then, if you needed a balance staff or a center pinion or a part for English lever watch or whatever, you had to put it between centers here on this device and adjust it with a graver until it fitted, and then fitted the part up. So that's what all these little watchmaking lathes you see around are for. But in 2019, there's not a lot of call for that. There's still some amazing craftsmen who do that sort of work, but they're few and far between, to be honest. So, and Lance and Patrick are the experts on that. I've just, this is sort of ancient history for me. I'm just trying to remember how that sort of worked. But this one has notches in it for sitting a pivot over the top of it for polishing. or for finishing. And this one has holes in it, so you can put the pivot through and you can polish the end of the pivot on a radius. This one here is for an overhanging pivot. You can put the pivot through and then work on this part here. So these are all interchangeable. They'll come out and go back in, whatever. But this one here should have a carrier on it and a center and a little pulley. So whether I actually make those parts might be a fun project to fit up on that and get it all complete. And then it should have a pulley. Probably this model had a bow. Often, yeah, there are other ways of propelling them, but you want something that moves backwards and forwards, and you don't want something that you switch on and off, because there are reasons for that. So it's not a bad little tool, and it's in pretty good condition. All the pivots are pretty straight, stuff like that. It needs a few little extra pieces, but anyway, I want to show you that. It's sort of a bit interesting. Hope everyone was following. It doesn't have to spin in both directions. You only use it in one direction. Really good question, Matt. You only use it in one direction, but it's only got to do a turn at a time when you're taking a shaving off with a graver. So it probably does 3 or 4 turns this way, and then you go back and another 3 or 4 turns and you're not taking a lot of metal off with this. It's not something for roughing out parts. It's for finishing parts that were already almost to spec, and making them fit jewels or making them fit a hole, so that or probably more likely adjusting them to length so that they fit between the 2 plates with a little bit of end shake. That's probably more likely why you would use this. And then polishing them. So if you had a balanced staff that was a little bit long and almost fitted, then you'd probably shorten it up a bit, or adjust the position of the balance wheel or the hairspring collet or whatever, so everything lines up and nothing gets interrupted or touching. Or not a lot of metal to take off on any of those applications, considering a balance staff for a number 18 pocket watch is probably about that long. Hi, Craig. My impression of the foot treadle, which was something that was available as an accessory for most little lathes, was a bit of a gimmick. I think for doing this sort of work, it's a bit of a waste of time, but a foot treadle was something that was often available. What was a really good system on some of these was a spring-loaded bobbin with a string, and a ball on a string, and you pulled the string and it retracted and expanded. As you pulled it, let it go, like one of those wind-up toys. So you pulled it and then let it go to reverse it, and then pulled it again. And that's quite a useful thing, I think. Bow's all right, but every time you put the part in, you've got to loop the string around, all those sort of things. So quite a lot of this work was done on a mandrel between centers, with a center in each end and a pulley on one end and a taper, so that if you had a wheel or such that needed to fit on a wheel and a collet, you could push it or drive it on the tapered lightly, and then use that to finish your heights or whatever. So I don't ever intend to use this, and it's very unlikely that I'll ever do this sort of work, or I'll ever have a bench set up. This isn't the environment for this machine. It's unlikely I'll ever have a bench set up to do this sort of work, or the patience or interest to do that sort of work ever again. But it's a nice piece to have, and this is really in pretty good condition. No maker's name on it, just says Swiss made. Could be anything. Could be anything. I'd say it's out of a factory somewhere, probably. Is the most likely thing. But it is a fairly nicely made thing. It's got a little slipper piece in there with 2 countersink screws. I don't know if you can see that. This is hard pinned in here. It's not coming off. I thought I saw a pin in that. And this all slides along with there's a flat on the back which keeps everything aligned. And then this is movable in and out like this. There's an option available for most of them with a flip over steady or a flip over tool rest, so that you've got it out of the way. I find that they're pretty useless. You want something that's rigid and something that's not going to move. Mostly the hinges on them are pretty crap. So if anyone wants a cool project, I'll measure it up for them. But it's a lathe that you want to spend a lifetime to master, I think, and I'm not that person. I'm waiting for the ClickSpring video to say that he's actually made one. That's what I'm waiting for. But there we go. That's the watchmaker's turns. There was a picture posted in one of the in the YouTube machinist group of one that had been converted with a pin vise through here, I think, and a electric motor. Not a particularly practical machine at all, and it was on a marketplace somewhere and it was way overpriced. They still make this Horia, which used to be Favourite, I think. Someone will correct me on that. Horia, if you look at horia.ch in Switzerland, they make one of the similar thing to this, all set up. 5,000 or 6,000 Swiss francs, so not a cheap bit of gear, and that's where I'd like to be if I was actually going to use one. Anyway, digger up, good day. You haven't missed anything exciting. For Lance and Patrick, just giving you a look at this. I'm not actually offering any advice or insight on how I'm going to fix it, but I'm just giving you a look. So that's as far as we're going with that. I've got to move this hole. You can see that's offset there. If we push this down, it's touching one before it touches the other, and that's no good. So I'm going to have to block this hole, re-drill it, and move it across, fix it. We've been talking about it. My friend John Pettit, who I was talking to this afternoon or before I went live, we've had several discussions about this, and it will happen, but don't stress too much. Put that back out of the way. What else? What else is happening? Gosh, this is getting a bit long. There's a whole monologue about watchmakers lathes. I wasn't expecting to be right down that road of the Swiss watchmaking industry. But anyway, there's some pretty good books about this and about the Swiss watchmaking industry and things like that. Some of them get a bit technical, and some of them are sort of, they've got good chapters in them, but they're really repair manuals. Henry Fried wrote a really good book about that from American perspective. There's also some really good information in Malcolm Wilding's Gear and Pinion Cutting in Horology. That's a really good book. And there's a bit in George Daniels' Watchmaking. If you're looking for further study, there are 3 books that I would jump out and get. But it's... Yes, that's a good book too. Thanks, guys. But if you want to go down this road with a nice clean bench and some elbow pads and a cutout and decent anti-static matting and a decent watchmaker's lathe and a decent staking tool and all that other gear, go and check out Lance and Patrick at Active Atom. That gives you some sort of idea where you need to be to do this sort of work. And I'm got no intention of mixing it up in here with this. It's just not going to happen. And a microscope. I have a microscope for sale. If anyone's interested in a... I'm not going to get it out now. It's on top of the shelf in a Pelican case. I have a good laboratory scope for sale. It's a Carl Zeiss. It's a Jenner, fully illuminated. It stands about 2 foot tall. It's a stereoscope. If you know anyone who's interested in buying one, let me know, because I'd like to get rid of it. But it's no good for this sort of work. You want something like Stefan's got. Go and check out Stefan's channel. He's got some really good microscope videos. I haven't seen his video that went up today. I come home tonight. I watched This Old Tony. I watched JB from Oz and his latest tool haul. I've probably seen most of that in shorts via Messenger, but he buys all the tools. And I watched some of Chirpy's video. So there we go. But Active Atom have also got a really good series, I believe, on spindle rebuilding, and I need to watch that. But it's a day out with a stiff drink and a couple of cartons of beer and a big screen TV on the sofa. And at this point, it hasn't happened, and I apologize. If you're interested, another really good... I'm just going to see if I can find it. Give me a second. Nope, but there is a very interesting video, DVD I have on the history of English watchmaking. It's worth a look. I might get it out for next week and show you. But good video on everything from the pole lathe through to banknote engraving. Pretty good, but I can't remember what it's called even, and I probably shouldn't have even mentioned it at this point. It's on my bookcase over there somewhere. Milling machine news. There's no real milling machine news. I have all the bits here, except for a few minor parts, and I'm sort of waiting for some money in the bank and my tax to come back, and then I'll get that going, but I really need a milling machine. Stuart 400. I've had a week off. Give you some idea how big this is. Bigger than my lathe. I haven't done much here. I've given this a little bit of undercoat so you can see some contrast happening here. And I've got the 6 bolts in, and I've cleaned these up nicely, and I've put a bit of JB weld in here so that everything's nice and neat. Next job really is to set this up on the horizontal mill and face it and bore it, and then turn it round half a turn and bore this one on the back. And from there we can make all the other bits. So we really need to get the horizontal mill going, and so there hasn't been any real action on this. But this is pretty crazy project really, and hopefully we'll get it running, because I'm looking forward to that. It's come a long way from some writing in a book from 1920 to what looks like it might even be a reality. So really pleased and proud of this so far, but hopefully we can get it running. But it weighs a colossal amount. There's a fair bit of metal to come off it, and hopefully it won't be much heavier than this when it's all done. But I'm thinking about 8 kilos, 16 pounds, something like that when it's all together. So not much happened there. Who can tell me about these? This is a little set of boring bars, and I got them out because I thought, well, they're probably fairly useful on my boring bar, boring head. However, they're the wrong size, so that's not going to happen. I need to make a tool holder, or find a tool holder to hold these in the lathe. These are little boring head bars. They're a knockoff, Stefan. They're Enco, Japan. But they're not a bad set of boring bars, I think, and I'm pretty excited to try them out. And this looks like a really good thing. Can't focus this stupid camera. I could do that. I'm probably going to, at this point, use them in the lathe, because little boring bars, that's why I bought them, or why I obtained them. These were a gift, actually. Gentleman named Tom Lipton at the Summer Bash. He had a box full of assorted tooling, as he always does. Crazy amount of things. And I asked him how much for these, and I don't think I ever got a straight answer. So they're mine, but I probably owe him for them, but he's not that sort of person. And thanks, Tom, if you ever watch this. We haven't forgotten, and we will use them. Only grind them on the top flat. That's very useful information. Take care, Brian. Thanks for watching in. Sorry this has got a bit long. I can see that they're ground on the top flat. Thank you for that, Stefan. But fairly keen to get in and use those. But I need to make some tool holders. One for those and one for a parting tool. And that's another project which we didn't really need. Thank you, Stefan. I'm thinking it must nearly be that time of year when the Stewart Arts Maker of the Year trophy's presented, if Stewart's going to do this again. Or Jimmy Stewart's going to... Jimmy Porter, his name is. I don't know where we got Stewart from. Stewart might be the cat. If Jimmy's going to present this again, go and check out his channel, which is Stewart Arts. Always good fun, and he has a video of making the trophy. This is cast pewter. You should check him out. But this is one of the things that makes me happy or smile when I walk into the workshop. Emma's Spare Room Machine Shop, Maker of the Year 2018. Is pretty cool. Little robot there with a pin on his head. There's some clever people out there. Anyway, we probably should call this a night. You're all fallen asleep over there. There's not much else to report. I think I have actually done something this week. The only other thing I want to mention is Tip Blitz 19, which is the 15th of September. Not that far away. I have updated a lot of makers, and I updated the Facebook group. If you didn't get an update or you didn't get a reminder, let me know and I'll make sure you're on the list. That's an awesome thing to watch out for. Greenwich Mean Time or Universal Time, midnight London time, on the 15th of September. There's going to be some videos go down, and that should be great fun. So get yourself into gear. Yeah, it's 15th of September, which is 3 weeks away. You've got 3 weeks to make a video. Heads up, my 3-minute tip video took me about 6 minutes to shoot and about 10 minutes to edit. I'm not sure if it's going to be the final one I'll go with, but while I was thinking of something, I shot it. And that's a good idea. If you're in the workshop and you think, oh, hey, I should share that, just get the camera out and do it and shoot it and upload it and hashtag it. So it's as easy as that. If you've got any issues, if anyone's got any issues about scheduling or hashtagging or anything like that, absolutely, get on me or email me or message me or whatever, and we'll help. But that should be lots of fun. Good night, Lance, Patrick. Take care. Or good morning. Go and have some breakfast or go back to bed. Good to see you. And apart from that, nothing else happening. No new stickers. No, nothing really. No mail. So I'm going to call this done. We'll address them in another video, Paddy. I'm going to call this done. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Be kind to each other. That's fairly important. It really is. And especially to me. And more soon.